Guys, we're 3 strong, but Nasima, she's on her way. Promise she'll be here, guys. Hey, Patty. Hey, Jade.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going today? You know, I feel good. I actually feel good. Last week, I was a little tired. But today I've got some gas for today's conversation. I hope you guys are ready for it, because I feel like this is a much needed conversation for us to have today. And I guess we're skipping intros. Let's just,
you can't keep announcing that we're skipping intros. But
it makes me feel like I don't know. You guys know I'm always like in professional mode, and I'm like, all right, I guess we can just talk. But it's Wednesday. It is 7:00 Eastern time. I'm ready to get into this gig today. All right, just diving right in. I got a lot on my mind today, ladies. I've got so much on my mind today, and you realize, there are points in your life when you start to make progress and you start to just become more aware of things that have always existed. You just were never really aware of them before. And I feel like this, trend of relationship, keeps occurring for me. And so today I was having a wire call, women in real estate call, with one of our members who, congratulations to her. She is stepping into this new role, leading this new firm, this new brokerage, and she wants to collaborate with Wire. But she made this comment to me that really just was one of those confirming moments for me, where I was like, holy crap, this is definitely something we should probably talk about. And she said, so many people in the industry right now feel like they're on an island. It's a dark time for a lot of people. And I was like, that's really interesting. It's a dark time for a lot of people. Like, what exactly does that mean? And so, part of why I think Wire is so successful is, the sense of community, and we talk about it all the time. But what is community really? And I realized that, wow, I guess it could feel like a really dark time for people if they don't actually have the right relationships, or the right, which we have established could arguably be the highest form of currency, even more than a monetary value of currency, right? Actually talking about the value of relationships. And you could feel like you're on an island if you don't have positive relationships, positive influences, an actual tribe. And so I was thinking today, I was like, wow, this is something, following the theme of what did we wish we knew sooner? I can tell you, when I was getting started in this business, when I was new, there have been multiple points in my life where I may have felt like I was maybe starting over in a lot of ways, getting into real estate, moving back across the country, or whatever the thing is. And I too maybe felt like I was on an island. And so I said, no. For me, the most important thing that I wish I knew earlier in my life was the true value of relationship, which has proven to be more valuable than money in a lot of ways. And so I wanted to bring that conversation to the forefront for us to talk about today. There's personal relationships, professional relationships, mentorship. There's mentorships. There's so many different ways we could take this conversation, but I want to know, when was the pivotal moment for you ladies when you realized, like, you know what, if I'm gonna really do this thing, no way in hell I'm doing it alone. Have any of you guys had that like aha moment?
Patty, I'll let you go ahead first.
I mean, I think in my world, everything is based on relationships. So, and it's interesting because my personality type can thrive very well on an island, and my personality type can thrive very well in a community. So for me, it's an interesting aspect. And when you first said the comments that your Wire member made about feeling like the industry is, people in the industry are feeling like they're on an island, I think it's the overall energy of the entire world. And I really felt like that impacts people across various different sectors. So whatever industry you might be in watching this, I think that it's a difficult time, but specifically related to real estate, What I think is important to acknowledge, just kind of the root of that comment, is during COVID, everybody was kind of, if they were in the business long enough, everybody was going crazy because they couldn't have any time because they couldn't keep up with the demand, right? I mean, if you weren't doing deals during COVID, you lived under a rock or you were sick, God forbid, you know, like the deals were falling out of the sky and everybody and their mama wanted to get a real estate license, right? So, and then after that, in early 2022, when rates started to change and all of a sudden the brakes were pumped on that demand, I think that people had to work twice as hard to close deals, because now you're working just as hard, but you're not getting as much traction because the demand has shifted. Now you fast forward into 2024 and you've come out of 2023 where people's income and lifestyles and everything has drastically shifted, and they no longer have that mindset of, oh, it's going to be coming in. It's coming in. This is easy. I like it. I'm getting money. It's like, oh, now I got to do the work. Now it's a little different. So then what happens is you kind of, in some ways, isolate. Right? Because it's not what you thought it was, or things are changing. And my very first thought is always, you know, kind of examine, how did we get here? Because now we're working twice as hard to close half the volume. And we're working that hard because before I would have to answer my phone twice, and maybe I could, you know, a lot of realtors will not answer the phone. And what I mean by that is you're going to take one hot prospect call, you got a deal going, so you don't care about the other 2 calls that you missed anymore. Well, in 2024, baby, you're calling those 2 people back 17 times, hoping that they'll pick up. There's a different mindset. So there's a bit of isolation because there is an energy that comes with that when the work is not as instantaneously rewarding as it normally is. So I think that's an energetic thing. And I think it's happening across the nation in various different sectors. So yeah, I think that for me going through, so as a lender, I need to create relationships with real estate agents, and those real estate agents refer me business. And even with that mindset, I shifted to being a lot more consumer direct, right? So it's my relationship with the people who are the consumers, the home buyers, first-time buyers, investors, people like yourselves, the relationships I'm building with you. So those relationships create massive opportunities in so many different ways for your personal growth and for your business growth. So for me, I can specifically remember a time in my career where I would knock on doors asking folks for help and wanting to know, hey, how do you go from doing $1 million a month to doing 3 million a month or 4 million a month? And nobody wanted to teach me that. And then the aha moment came when I realized, hey, I got to go out and talk to real estate agents. Because if you're a lender watching this, you know that there's the buildup to your business could have a lot to do with refinance business, which is the low hanging fruit. And if the refinance business is not there because that's cyclical, then you want to have purchase business. So the aha moment for me was understanding that the most consistent source of income would be purchase business. And that's going to come from relationship building with real estate professionals, because people aren't buying alone, they're buying a house and they call an agent and then that agent connects them. So that's really helped increase my business. So the aha moment came for me in terms of business relationships when I realized what it would take to take the business to the next level. And of course, in my personal life, I can give you thousands of examples as well.
That was good. I think for me, the aha moment has always kind of been there. I've always kind of understood the power of relationships. I mean, I come from the world of entertainment. So in entertainment, everything is relationship built. It's interesting that we're talking about this. I went to my godson's graduation today, and the valedictorian is giving this speech, and he's talking about, you know, now it's time for us to go out and figure out our purpose. And I looked to, you know, one of the family members that was with me, and I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out my purpose. You know what I mean? And because the thing is, just like Patty said, in every single aspect of life, relationships are so important. But at the same time, I feel like adulting overall, no matter what industry you're in, it can feel so lonely sometimes, right? And it's because, think about it, you build relationships and you do it one way. And then as an adult, no matter what industry you're in, you're growing, you're changing, your business is changing, people hurt you, relationships don't work out like you thought, business relationships go sour, people are not working with integrity. So now, besides trying to build these relationships in this very innocent way that you once tried to build them, now you're trying to build them and push past a distrust, right? And so I don't know about you guys, but you know, even over the last few years, I've actually lost some friends that are very close to me. Not they didn't pass away, but just because of some integrity issues, right? And so that was very hurtful to me. I changed industries because of some hurtful things, you know? And so my approach to relationships is, it's a little tainted now. And so I'm trying to get away from this tainted view of relationships, because when I approach relationships, whether it's in business, whether it's personal, I'm approaching it in a very authentic, like open type of way. I don't want to hold anything back from anybody. I truly want to see everybody win. I want to see how we can collaborate, you know, because 100% it is always collaboration over competition. But everybody doesn't have that same vantage point, you know? So I just think that overall, it is true. Relationships are very important, but we also have a tendency because of hurt to teeter a little bit of a different way. And so you can't always go into everything like, oh my God, I met this person. They seem so cool. And they told me that they wanted me to win. It don't always work out like that. You know what I mean? So I think that I love how you said, Patty, you said you could be on an island or you can collaborate. And that's how I feel a lot of times, right? But and sometimes I actually want to be on that island. I love my alone time. I love being by myself. I love sometimes even working by myself because I can only blame myself if things go wrong. But on the flip side of things, I know that I can get further faster with relationships. It's just finding the right relationships is the challenging part, right? So that's my little 2 cents on, you know, the aha moment. What about you, Nasima?
I don't know. I missed the whole question. So.
Oh yeah. So we're talking about relationships. Yeah. Look, shout out to Nasima, who is like full-time mommy, had to do the whole dentist thing and run in to make it here to that's what she said. But we're just talking about the aha moment of realizing that, you know, relationships is oftentimes a more powerful currency than money itself. So
right.
Was there an aha moment for you? Especially you doing what you do for a living, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think I undervalued the power of relationships when I was younger because I have like the same friend group that I've had like since middle school. And those women have been my support network and, you know, have held me down through a lot of stuff. So I did not realize that until I got older, like how important that was. But I think like I talked about last week, the power of your community, the people that you surround yourself with, changing your circle is like super important. And I think what we forget is that we have full control over who we allow in our lives oftentimes. And so like definitely in building this brand and building my personal finance platform, I really leaned into the power of relationships as far as like surrounding myself with people that I aspire to be like, right? So definitely in my later 30s is when I realized like, you know, your network is your net worth. And just like heavily leaning into people that were going to be assets and not liabilities, and dismissing and distancing myself and having firm boundaries around people who were not being a positive source in my life, friends, family, all of that stuff. So
I love what you said about letting new people in. Nobody ever talks about how difficult it is to find your day twos, because I remember I was no new friends for you find your day twos. Like in other words, the people you've been friends with forever, I call those my day ones, right? And then like your new friends, your new crew, your new business partnerships, those to me are like your day twos, the people that you meet in adulthood, you know? And sometimes you end up being tighter with them than you are with your day ones, right?
Yeah.
But nobody talks about the pain that comes with being open to finding day twos. I used to think no new friends. I did not want to be disloyal to my day ones. And it was my growth actually came when I started letting in new friendships, new relationships, and not feeling as if I was being disloyal. You know, somebody told me recently, 2 things can be true at once. And I used to always live in black and white. Now I'm trying to find this gray area. But my day twos have been the ones that have pushed me. My day twos have been the ones that have taught me new skills and made me feel like, hey, there's more for me out here in this world But there is kind of a mourning process and kind of this thing you have to go through to be like, dang, I don't want the other folks to think I switched up because I still love them. I just love them differently. Right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Well, that's something we need to talk about, I think, and encourage people to normalize, right? Because I think there's a certain level of strength that is required to walk away from a lifelong relationship.
Yeah.
So when, like Jade, you said there have been some friendships recently that you've had to cut ties with. Nasima, last week you were on here talking about your divorce and how
Mhm.
difficult, that was. Patty, you've publicly talked about, being divorced and, exiting really strong holds of relationships, right? And when we as people, I mean, we ended up getting, soul tied, friend tied, whatever the tie is. So what is the moment? How do we encourage somebody who is awakening for the first time and saying, wow, oh my gosh, although, and Jade, you said loyalty, right? And I almost tweeted something. I didn't tweet it. There's no Twitter. Threaded something yesterday. And I was like, what? This actually doesn't even make sense for me to say this, but loyalty, some people are more loyal to themselves than they are to you as a friend. But then I had to think about that. I'm like, well, you should be
Should be
loyal to
loyal to
yourself.
yourself.
There's a difference between loyalty and integrity, right? So
Yeah.
for people who are waking up for the first time and realizing like, wow, although this is my best friend, this is my sibling, this is, my high school sweetheart that I've been with for so long and I love them, but they are actually hindering my growth because they can't think outside of their own space, right? Outgrowing people is a real thing. And so there was I'm gonna give you guys a stat real quick, and I'm reading it. There was a study published in the Journal of Social Science and Medicine, and it says that individuals with strong social support networks have a 50% increased likelihood of survival compared to those with weaker social ties. This wasn't like thriving. This is survival. The comment is survival. And I thought that was 50% is so significant. And so, cutting ties to have a stronger social network. I mean, how can we encourage people to have the courage to take those kinds of steps? Because those are not respecting your own boundaries and loving yourself enough can feel like when you're loving yourself and you cut off an unhealthy relationship, it's one of the most painful things. And you have to ask yourself, oh my gosh, is this even healthy? Because it hurts so bad.
I think a lot of
So,
people won't even are reluctant to admit that they need other relationships, or they think that because old relationships didn't work out, like they're a failure. And so it's hard for people to be like, hold on, like maybe I just need to change my environment a little bit, the people I surround myself a little bit, and things will work out differently in my life. Or they just don't know how to, as an adult, like make friends. And, that's a big thing that I see. I'm in like a mom group, and, a lot of people come in there and they're just like, I don't know how to make friends as an adult. Like, I need a network where I can make friends as like, when you transition into different stages of life, like being a mother, things change. If your friend group aren't moms, then, you know, you might not feel as supported as you were before. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, the first thing is to be like, maybe if I maybe if I surrounded myself with different people, my life would look a little bit different. Like that, admitting that, and then letting go of like shame, letting go of the shame behind like past relationship failures, and just be willing to be open and move on, and just be open to new people and new experiences. Like, and it might not look like what you think it's going to look like. The people might not look like the friend group that you had before, and that's okay. But being open and to receiving those things is like one of the biggest things that a person can do.
I mean, in the context of business and personal, I think, again, something practical that we can do is examine your emotional intelligence, right? Like,
Mhm.
detachment is an act of faith. So detaching yourself from something does not mean that it no longer exists. And it doesn't mean that it didn't have an impact on your life. And it doesn't mean that it will not have an impact on your life in the future. Detaching yourself from a circumstance or situation or another human being is not only an act of faith, but it's actually a sign of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So you can be angry in a moment, sad in a moment, hurt in a moment, every emotion that you can possibly experience. And then you can also depart from that experience and continue to move on your path. I think when you are dependent on anything outside of yourself, whether it's a system, a community, or a person, it's a codependency, right? If you need something else to feel fulfilled or that you belong, then there's an idea that there is some codependency there. Now, that doesn't change the fact that you're a human being and us human beings thrive in relationships, especially personal life, right? But this is such a broad topic that I think it's getting, a little bit away from the original question and point, which has to do with the lady who's mentioning that in the real estate world or in the business world, people feel like they're on an island, right? Mm-hmm. And when you have a moment in your life when you realize these relationships are currency, right? Well, in my personal life, I'm not looking for my relationships to be currency. In my personal life, I'm looking for, on a Saturday when I got a day off and I got to throw a barbecue and I send out a text, at least 5-6 people are going to show up. We can have a good time. And some of my girls are going to be in that kitchen washing the dishes. And then when they leave, we're just going to be texting about how much fun we had, right? That's what I'm looking for in my personal life. In my business life, what I'm looking for is that there is a balance, right? So I'm creating relationships. If you're in the real estate world, Latoya mentioned something like it's very difficult in the real estate world right now. Well, it's difficult, like I said, because everyone is really fending for themselves. If you're looking to build relationships, the number one thing that you can depend on is the fact that there's one common ground that you're going to have with every person that you meet on earth, and that's called being human. You're going to be able to understand that you can connect with anyone just on the basis that you're a human being and you're all have the same basic needs and the same basic sets of emotions, whether they're applied differently to different things. Okay. Then the other fact is that survival comes first. So people are out for themselves, not because they hate you and not because they want to hurt you, but because there is a need for them to survive. So oftentimes when someone is on their path and they've wronged you in some way, they've made a decision that put their own needs and wants ahead of yours. Right or wrong, we're not here to judge that. They're going to do that when they're ready to meet God. So my point is that's how you detach from it. Right? You detach from it by understanding that the actions that people take have nothing to do with you and everything to do with their desire to survive and get through whatever they need to get through in their life. 9 out of 10 times you find out what was really going on in someone's life and you realize that, man, that had nothing to do with me. They were really going through something and they had to deal with what they had to deal with. And even if that's not the case, wouldn't that be a better way to frame it? Because you are the architect of your own reality. You get to define these experiences and how you react to it emotionally. So the key thing here is in business, when you're building relationships, there do need to be healthy boundaries within those relationships. And I'll go back to when I started in real estate, really like we talked about the aha moment, I need to create these relationships. And I started going to every networking event possible. What I noticed was that there's a lot of drinking and a lot of people sleeping with each other, right? Just like with any human circles, right? People are going to drink, people are going to start sleeping with each other. This is what happens. These are human beings serving whatever their basic needs are, okay? So then I realized this isn't a place where I'm going to be able to thrive. So what I want to do, because I'm here to make money, right? I'm not here to do these certain things. So what I did was I started to create my own relationships and I started to create my own events and I started to create an environment where people would come gather based on the idea that they're getting to know me. I made it about me. So you know what? Joe Blow might have felt real like, damn, she's selfish. She's not coming to our event to support that anymore. She's doing her own thing. Now I'm seen as a competitor. Now I'm seen in this way. Now they're talking about me that way. But so what? I'm thriving, right? So when it comes to business and relationship building, I think you need to have a clear idea of what you're trying to build. For me, it was becoming a $100 million producer. And in order to become a $100 million producer as a lender, I needed to have strong relationships with real estate agents, authentic relationships with real estate agents. And I need to create an environment that they enjoyed to be in around me so that they can get to know me, because strengthening that relationship not only took time, but was very important. So in the business realm, I think it's important to understand the art of detachment, setting boundaries, applying emotional intelligence, and then creating consistency because they're trying to get to know you. If you feel like you're on an island, no matter what industry that you're in, you can really fix that by getting up, getting out of your feelings, and getting involved in something socially, whether you're creating it or just participating. I think it's easy to come out of that feeling. Let's say you're a real estate agent and you didn't know, but now you can join Wire. Well, you're going to be able to connect with a bunch of women across the country that might be feeling a certain way and get connected. I think there's always something to plug into, whether you're creating it or just participating elsewhere. But I do really think that if we can enhance our emotional intelligence, we can learn to separate our emotions and our feelings from the experience. And I'm not trying to be cold-hearted and say, don't feel it. I'm not saying don't cry about it. Don't be mad about it. What I'm saying is sit with those emotions and then leave them there and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you said that it's I guess an act of faith is what you said.
Detachment is an act of faith. Yes,
it is. Look, and you know, I hate to go Bible on y'all, but that's what I know. But it's pruning, right? Biblically, when a tree is pruned and it's cut, then there is a flower that can come from it, right? Sometimes I think that my detachment game can be a little, you know, too strong. I saw Latoya earlier. Her detachment game is super strong. So there is a fine balance, but you're absolutely right, because pruning is necessary in order for us to grow fruit. When you were talking about your tribe, I know for me, one thing that's been super instrumental for me is mentorship, right? Especially as I've transitioned into this new space of real estate and investing over the last few years, right? And I think that we don't oftentimes put enough emphasis, or people don't understand the power of mentorship, because when you're a mentee, when you're a teenager in high school, it looks completely different than when you get a mentor when you're an adult, right? Your mentor can become a part of your tribe. Oftentimes your mentor, depending on how you are as a mentee, will open up their a lot of their resources to you, right? But as a mentee, I want to talk about what it feels like to be a mentee. I have to add value also to my mentor, right? And that to me has been the game changer of me experiencing any type of success in this real estate industry. I have a mentor in flipping. Shout out to Tommy Jones. I have a coach for real estate, and I had to write a big check when I first became a real estate agent because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I'm like, I cannot navigate this on my own. I really think I should have gotten a mentor over a coach, but it is what it is. I didn't know at the time.
I was about to say something about that.
Yeah, and then now that I'm in new builds, I have two mentors. Shout out to Royce and Anthony from the Gentleman Builder, who have been instrumental, and I'm really excited about, you know, learning that investing side of building from the ground up. And it's not because they have all the information that I'm successful. It's because I, as a mentee, show up when I ain't getting money from it. I, as a mentee, if they're giving me things to do, I'm going to do it times 100. Like, you got to like start over and have that intern almost mentality when somebody has resources and information that they're willing to share with you, but you got to earn that mess. You know what I mean? As a mentee. And I think that oftentimes people sign up for mentorships or pay for mentorships or whatever that looks like, and you're like, gimme. It don't work like that, people. Come on now. Like, we got to be mature enough to understand they earned it, so they're gonna make you earn it too, rightfully so. So I think mentorship for me has been super important.
A study from Association for Talent Development found that 75% of executives credit their success to having had mentors. 75%. That's a significant number. And so when you think about a mentor and somebody showing up for you and championing for you, there's got to be, because you made a good point. Like, there's a big difference between coaching and mentorship, and I know that we've said that here on the show before. But when you think about adding value to a relationship, or being mentored, you know, one of the things that I agree with everything you guys just said, but one of the things that for me as a new millennial mentor, if you will, is that whole mentality of I had to get it out the mud, so do you. I hate that crabs in a barrel shit. You know, that's not my vibe. I do not like in the commercial real estate space, right? These vice chairman brokers with huge, multi-million-dollar books of businesses, because they had to create books of businesses in a time where there was no LinkedIn and it was your grandpa's grandpa relationship, referring business. They think that business development looks the same today, and it doesn't. I am not a gatekeeper of information. I do not aspire to sit next to people who are gatekeepers of information. And if you think because it was hard for you, so you got to make it hard for me, you're not the person for me, right?
And hopefully that's not what
So
I was coming off. Hopefully I wasn't coming off like that. But there's
you
work
weren't.
involved. Okay. Because I
Absolutely.
don't believe in like making somebody suffer relentlessly. It's not
Yeah.
that. But I definitely ain't gonna be
Absolutely.
sharing my resources with somebody that is not, that I don't see has the same love and tenacity and grit. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Which
you're not
is my
gonna
point.
misuse. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, which is my point. So knowing that we are in a time where people are seeking community, seeking these relationships to elevate together, that is my exact point. If you are going to show up, you have to show up, right? And so when we talk about relationships are two-sided. And I don't want this to get stuck in a what people do for me kind of a thing. This is often heavily predicated on what you do for people, which I think are a good way to gauge your return on investment. How invested are your friends in the friendship? How invested is your network when you tap in with them? I take a lot of pride in the fact that I'm more well connected than I don't even know how half the time it happens. But the fact that I can pick up the phone and leverage my relationships and people take the relationship serious, I
Mhm.
think speaks to the fact that I take the relationship serious. I pick up the phone when they call me. I leverage my resources and connections for them as needed, obviously with discernment in the right places, spaces, and opportunities. So that's my expectation. If I'm going to do that for you, I'm expect that when I call you, you're going to do that for me. That's how relationships work. It's a two-way street. So if you're not seeing the fruit that you're looking for from your relationship, I would ask, what do your deposits look like?
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Rumi is a 13th century Sufi Persian poet, one of my favorite writers of all time. And his poetry is in circulation second to none other than the Bible. There's a very good quote I read from him just yesterday that says, "Whoever travels without a guide needs 200 years for a 2-day journey." So yeah, mentorship is extremely important. I couldn't wait to share that quote when I saw our notes for today's show. And I agree, the gatekeeping mentality is horrible, and the point that you made, Kelani, is so important. I also agree with what you said, Jade, because when you have a mentor, they're giving you steps. If you're not doing the work and you're not doing the homework, then you're not going to see the results, and the relationship is going to fall flat.
Mhm.
I'm curious as to how you feel about, I loved what you said, because I do believe strongly that in all levels of relationships, those deposits are definitely what creates the fruit. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people in relationships, because they don't want to do the work, right? Let's just talk about the fact that if you're in business and you're not answering your phone, you're missing out on 35% of your potential growth in your business. Let's talk about
Wow.
the fact that you're talking about what you do for other people. I remember in 2007 and 8, during the great financial crisis, where there were tents set up by NACA throughout the entire country. We sat
Mhm.
for hours and hours and hours, and for free helped people with loan modifications to help them save their homes. Those created relationships for me that will never go away. I'm working on a third debt consolidation refinance from a relationship with a client that started 17 years ago. I
Mm.
take much pride in the fact that I'm still very close to my day ones, and I'm still very close to my day twos. And that has made a major difference in my confidence, because Jade, when I walk into a room, let's say that you three ladies were sitting down and it was an event for us to get to know each other, and whether or not you liked me and wanted to be my friend for the rest of my life, I'm good, because I have friends. I'm not coming to the table empty. I'm not coming to the table in need, but I'm coming to the table with a platter, and I'm ready. I'm ready to give, and I'm ready to share. I think there's another important stat I want to share with you guys, so that you said this earlier, Jade, and I want to just highlight the importance of what you said. You talked about authenticity, approaching relationships with authenticity. If you do the research on this and you guys look to see if you believe in frequency and you understand an exchange of energy that takes place with us, whether you compute that spiritually or not, I want you to understand that the frequency of authenticity is 4,000 times stronger than any other frequency that exists.
Oh, wow.
Authenticity. This is scientifically proven. So it made me, when I was studying this, I realized this is exactly why in settings like this, my webinar and in person, I have the most I have an impact when I'm talking to people, and I have a relationship with someone where they want to tell me about their whole life, and we build a connection, and we go on and so forth. It's because if I can make eye contact with you or have a small intimate setting like this where I feel like I can really talk and be myself, that authenticity shines. And I'm still working on it, because in a lot of ways I might feel insecure and shy, and I don't like being seen, and I don't like being watched, and I don't like being on a pedestal, and I'm working through those insecurities. But I thought it was really important to know the frequency of authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than any other frequency that exists out there. And if you're coming to it with that, you definitely will get some reciprocation from it, from the universe, from the world, from your people, wherever you're looking at it from.
Wow, that's a strong stat. 4,000 times. That's crazy.
That's really crazy. You guys got me over here crying. No, literally, I have something in my eye and I can't get it out.
I was like, for real?
No,
What was that?
no, that's so big. And to even reinforce this with scripture, because Jade, that's my language too. But the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone, right? It's not good for man to be alone. So when I think about the authenticity of relationships, like we can take our relationship for example, Patty. I think one of the first things we ever exchanged was a Tupac lyric, and that was the catalyst of our relationship, and we've been close ever since. But I met you where you were at, and you met me exactly where I was at, and that was a very authentic moment. When I think about going to
That's how you connect with me,
conferences.
rap lyrics, just in case anyone wants to know.
Petty.
It's true. This is so true. But when we go to like events, right, and networking, because we talk about relationships, and people ask me all the time, where do I meet people? How do I improve my relationships, right? Because I've seen this evolution, especially among Wire membership, where people have the realization like, okay, I don't know if my existing relationships are super supportive of what I know my purpose is or where I'm looking to go. They look to make those adjustments. They realize like, okay, I actually have to get networked. That's the fastest and easiest way to go where I'm trying to go. So then they ask me, how do I meet people? And so then there have been countless times where I've gone to conferences and people have approached me. Oh my gosh, I follow Wire, I follow you, whatever. And they're coming at me for something. Instead, hoping that I will, I don't know, initiate some sort of like relationship, or this is going to turn into business or whatever. And I've just noticed when people approach me with an agenda, it never ends well. Like it literally never ends well. So if we're given tactical, advice, if you are understanding that you're not for everybody and being okay with that, right? I know that I'm not for everybody. I don't expect everyone to subscribe to my beliefs, believe in what I believe in, care about what I care about, all of those things. I'm not for everybody. And the moment I came to terms and grips with that, which I don't know, it sounds so simple, but for whatever reason, our egos don't like to hear that. But when you say, you know what, I'm good with not being for everybody, you realize I'm actually just for who I'm for. So these few relationships, although they might be less in the amount of relationships, or more fruitful and fulfilling. And one of the things that Patty and I bonded over really early in our relationship was that the friendship of women is the most fulfilling relationship that you really may ever truly have with people on this planet. Because it's an unconditional kind of love. So I just want to reinforce the message of authenticity. If you guys are out, you're looking to connect, don't worry about being liked by everybody. Go, looking like through a sniper scope and look for who you are intending to find. And then, I want to almost back this up a lot more. Jade, you made a comment earlier, and I'm almost losing it. You made a comment earlier about, dang it. Oh, being open to receiving, or was that Nasima? Somebody said something about being open to receiving. And I think that that's so big. So Nasima, I want let's to kind of, I guess, dive in and unpack that a little bit. It's one thing to be in an environment and look for who you're intending to find, but it's another thing to be open to letting people find you as
Mhm.
well. What is the key? How are you guys discerning these relationships, and how are we prioritizing them? So in a world where cash is king, we're hustling, grinding, not sleeping, the culture is telling us what the culture is telling us. How are we preserving our mental health, understanding that that's heavily predicated on our relationships? And I'm gonna give you guys one more stat and I'm gonna shut up. Harvard suggests that individuals with strong social relationships are 50% less likely to die prematurely.
Mhm.
So relationships are crucial and essential just to your mental health. So how are we using discernment in growing these long-term relationships?
I think it depends on the quality of the relationships too. Like, I just don't think like having relationships for the sake of being in a relationship because it's gonna make you have more longevity is healthy. But like I said, I really lean heavily on energy and heavily on assets versus liabilities and people that are in your life that are going to pour into you and or that you can pour into. And it's an energy exchange, right? Like, if somebody is draining your energy and not pouring anything back into you, then it's probably not a great relationship. So I'm very much like energy, feeling, intuition kind of person when it comes to relationships nowadays. And like, you vibe with people who you're gonna vibe with. Like, and you can choose to build the relationship off of a vibe. And or you can vibe with somebody initially and then not really be feeling them and then be like, okay, well, let me protect my peace. This is not really what I thought it was. But I think you know it's just important, like Brittany said, to protect your energy, protect your peace, surround yourself with people who are going to pour into you, surround yourself with people who you can learn from, surround yourself with people that you can also pour into. So I just think that's what's important.
And literally, if I'm gonna back us up even a little bit more. She goes, I can do bad by myself. No need extra luggage.
Right.
So even our relationship with ourselves is
Yeah.
super, super important. I'm on this journey of really understanding what I deserve for myself, right? And
Mhm.
being transparent, it's been hard for me to understand my own boundaries a lot of the time. And this is something
Mhm.
I talked with my therapist about, understanding my own boundaries, because I've noticed, I am loyal to a fault sometimes, and I can see the best. One of the things Patty says about me, or she said about me before, is just my ability to see the good in people all of the time, and that silver lining, and that, whatever, to a point where it might be compromising to my own sanity sometimes. And I had to realize that loving myself and setting those boundaries was the most healthy relationship. And
Mhm.
we've talked about alignment before, and what I've done. So, to make this tactical and practical, one of the things that has really worked for me and is continuing to work for me, don't laugh at that comment. I'm not going to put it up on the screen. Um, is that my really understanding my value, but my purpose, right? And asking, okay, does this relationship align with my purpose, the purpose on my life, right? There are women around walking around with assignments and calling on their lives, right? And it would be doing a disservice to myself and my purpose on this planet to not live in that. And so if these relationships are not, I'm taking it off of me and saying, it's not my decision to make on whether or not this is a great relationship. It is technically, but the way that I make that decision is by saying, wow, is this relationship in alignment? Is it helping? Is it pouring back into me? Is my cup overflowing? If it's depleting me, it is not in alignment with the direction that I'm going. And that's more than enough of a reason to say, hey, this isn't a good relationship. So, and not having the fear, right, of making that change, which has been a really, really, really big thing. There has to be an abundance mindset when it comes to, just like there is with money, there has to be an abundance mindset when it comes to social interaction and relationships with other people, because those are abundant as well, right? And what they pour into you, there's no limit to that overflow that is available to you. And so the scarcity mindset of being scared to lose a certain relationship will have a hold on people like nobody's business. It's had a hold on me before for several years in several different situations. And
Yeah.
I'm learning that Patty gave us the gem in the first 5 minutes of the show, and that's mastering the art of detachment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's
you
good.
asked a question about how do we use discernment when you're building relationships. And I want to highlight an idea that one of the ways that you can forgive is because you're compassionate and you're fully aware of your own flaws, right? So you're meeting people at various points of their life. And the question was, how do we use discernment when building the relationships? Okay. So understand that again, with a business hat, as a business person, as Nasima, as a financial coach with Financially Intentional, you want people to know that you can show them how to pay off their debt or to be more responsible with their finances. Jade, you want to list homes, you want to help buyers, you want to flip homes, you want to gain trust with sellers so that they can come to you as a trusted resource to buy their property and flip it, at a discount when they know that they need someone reliable to sell to. I want to do home loans. Kalani's building a community. So everywhere we go, we want people to know who we are and what we do, because the broader, the wider that you can cast that net, the more luck you're going to have, right? The luck doesn't happen because it falls out of the sky. The luck happens from the actions that you take. Okay. So how do you build discernment when building relationships? You stay focused on your plan, right? You're not going to become best friends with everybody. Every person that you meet is going to let you down. You meet the people that you have put on this pedestal because they're doing whatever big things they're doing and whatever path you want to be on. And you're going to meet them and realize something, that they're human and that they are not the perfect person that you built them up to be. And they're going to let you down. So how do you use discernment? Number one thing, remember that you are a flawed human being that has come through so many mistakes and have many, many, many skeletons in the closet that no one will ever know about.
True.
And if you can view that person in that same way, it's going to enhance the compassion that you have. So let's start with discernment comes from the idea that you can see clearly, and everything that you recognize in someone else, even if it's negative, is a reflection of your own heart and of who you are. So what are we focused on? So if I'm walking through a room and I want everyone to know who I am, and I'm there because I want to build relationships, I need to understand that the discernment that I'm putting into action is such that these people are not going to be at my wedding and they may not be at my funeral. I'm looking to make sure my goal in that interaction is that they know who I am and what I do. And that is the relationship I'm creating in the capacity of business, networking, right? And when they say your net worth is your net worth is your net worth, and you have to network with 100 people, trust me, you're not going to be intimate friends with 100 people. So you need to shift the mentality of the purpose of what you're doing. You stay focused. The best way to get out of your emotions is to do the math, right? Stick to the focus of the plan. What are you there for? What are you trying to accomplish? And of course, that is not the same approach to personal relationships. But the purpose was, how do you use discernment when you are walking into creating new relationships? You keep your emotions in check. You apply emotional intelligence. I was in therapy for 7 years straight with a gentleman who had a practice for 35 years and then became a software entrepreneur, very successful man. And he was like a father. He was like an old man sitting there talking to me with this incredible ability to be a therapist. 7 years. He taught the most valuable lesson he taught me is that emotions are important because they give you a signal, right? You understand yourself more through the observation of those emotions, but they are not reliable to tell you what is real. I can tell you right now, if you're a lady listening to this and a man just liked 17 of your pictures on Instagram and sent you heart eyes in the DMs, you're going to start planning the fucking wedding, right? Like all of a sudden, you're going to go to the next level, right? And then you realize, wait a minute, man, he's probably did that to 18 other people today, right? 2 weeks later, when he stopped doing it, your heart is like, what? Your emotions were not reliable to tell you what was real, right? You walked into a situation and maybe someone broke your window and you got so angry and you were so mad. And then you found out that, hey, they slipped and fell and broke their foot and the rock went backwards and boom, cracked your window, right? You're driving down the street. You might be having like a road rage situation, right? And then you don't even know. Maybe that person got a person in labor in the backseat of the car, right? Your emotional response to something does not indicate what is real. Until you can learn to separate the experience from the emotions, the discernment will be lacking. So how do we approach new relationships in business for networking purposes with discernment is that we separate the emotion from it. I didn't come here to get anything. I didn't come here because I think Jade is going to be my best friend and my maid of honor at my wedding. I came here because I wanted to meet people. And my goal is to have more people know my name and what I do and how to reach me. And that's about it. So I think we need to be really focused on what the plan is and understand the difference between, separating emotion from the goal.
It sounds to me like what you're saying is also take the manipulation out of meeting people. Because as much as we want to act like we're not, everybody has a level of manipulation in them. And when you approach relationships with the wrong motives, sometimes it comes back on you. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes we do want to pretend like we don't just want to meet you for business. We feel like we always have, there's this pressure of feeling like you have to lead with this being personable. And I really want to get to know you first, which is honestly why I hate networking events, because I hate the small talk, because at the end of the day, I'm like, we all know what we're here for.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask me my favorite color. And like, we pretend like we're on some kind of short date, and it drives me. Yeah, I don't even like good morning text. This is how, like, let's just get to where do you want?
What
like,
about Grand Rising? What about Grand Rising? How do you
Grand
feel
Rising
about
is the
that?
worst ever. Like, you don't have to tell me.
Grand Rising is the ghetto.
I saw this meme one time. It was like, don't send me Grand Rising. Do I look like I'm a biscuit?
Oh no.
But all of that small talk of like, hey sis, how are you? And my response is always, what's up? Like, we know that we are here for something. Like, it is actually okay. But the world will make you feel bad for wanting to get right down to business and not have that personal connection. You know what I mean? So it's like this catch-22. But you're absolutely, that was spot on, Patty. That was good.
Yeah.
So y'all
I'm
know I be
definitely
talking
get to the
about
point kind of chick.
Yeah.
for sure. You know that white man I was talking about last week, Simon Sinek, that I'm just like so obsessed with. He said in one of his talks for email purposes, right? He coaches executive leadership on how to run effective companies to make people to be people centered. And he said the same thing. And he gave this advice: if you're going to send an email, do not start with a personable, hey, hope you had a great weekend. How's the wife? How's the dog? The kids? Oh, and by the way, I need to meet with you next week on Tuesday. He said, you always reverse it. Say, hey, I'm looking to meet with you on Tuesday for XYZ. By the way, hope the wife and kids were great and you had a good weekend. Right. It just changes the interaction completely. And I thought that was a really great tactical.
That is good.
Really good. Okay, ladies, look, we got about 5 minutes left. And speaking of relationships and community, Jade, you are boots on the ground in Dallas, and this is the closest to an NBA championship you guys have ever been. Is the city going crazy or what?
Yeah, the city, I'm not going to lie, the city is on fire right now. Honestly, for those that have maybe been under a rock, you don't know what's going on. The Mavs are in the semifinals right now, and they've been playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. We were up 3-0. We should have won the game last night. We did not, unfortunately. So now they're in Minnesota about to play game 5. So we're up 3-1. Let me tell you, Dallas is already a sports town, but far and few between when we do get this close or doing really, really well, the city goes crazy. So this is a really great time for Dallas. Even Patty was trying to come here. There are no tickets, y'all. Like, you would have to pay a gazillion billion dollars. Like, I call all my ticket plugs and I'm like, hey, what you got? And they're like, sis, there is literally nothing. You have to walk up to the door and pay somebody tons of money.
I was ready to drop the money for the resale ticket, Jade, and I was ready to come pick you up. But I got this phone call for a $5 million deal. We had to get in contract in Menlo Park, and I got distracted. I didn't make it happen, and I was like, whatever. But then we went to game 5. So I'm cheering for Kyrie. I'm a Warrior fan, but I am cheering for Kyrie Irving because that man is every single thing ever. I love Kyrie Irving and I really want him to get this ring. And you know, people bashed him for his support of Palestine. People bashed him for standing up against COVID vaccinations. People bashed him for the fact that he was playing during his fast during Ramadan. And those are the top 3 reasons I want to see that man get a ring. And I'm praying for him day and night. He deserves this win. That man has been beat up by the media.
Yes.
Yeah.
But haven't you seen a difference in him though, Patty? Doesn't he seem happier and like healthier and like he's like in this really great, like his aura right now is just like, I don't know, it's just different. There's something different. Like he like
Yeah.
there's nothing like
totally
seeing
see him
peace
like
on
that.
somebody.
Mhm.
Huh?
They say that it's the partnership with Luka because Luka is just, you know, they're saying one of the best players in the league, you know, best white players in the league. And so, you know, he's doing his thing, that synergy. I think once you find that, it's kind of like the Splash Brothers. Once you get that energy, you know, that relationship, that trust factor, that chemistry, I think it's really, really hard to penetrate that. And I think that's what we're witnessing right now, this bond that's growing. I think he's doing really well in his personal relationships, but, you know, he's always been a man that exemplifies everything we talked about. Years and years ago, I posted an ESPN special on Kyrie Irving where he bought his father a house. And it really wasn't big news, but it wasn't like, oh, he bought his father's house and he made it a big deal. The story behind it is absolutely beautiful, and it would have you falling in love with Kyrie Irving. That was when I really fell in love with him. And then throughout his career, I think, you know, I'm not an NBA pro here, but throughout his career, I think the problem has been the partnerships, the matchups. Kyrie is a supporting player, right? He's not the Kobe, right? Kobe is a point guard. He's not the key player, right? I guess however you word that. But I think this relationship with Luka and of course, everything he's overcome, like just imagine that you had to walk, you were carrying your cross, everyone's throwing daggers at you, you're walking through this fire. And then finally this momentum is happening and you're coming through it and you've got this synergy going and the people are around you. And I feel like you stood up against every possible energy that was designed to kill you. And you still I rise. You rose above that. And now you're killing it. I feel like when I watch him, it's like I'm watching something divine happening. Like I can feel the spirit of God with that man when he's playing. That's just how I see it. I think that's where the glow's coming from.
Yeah. And when
Yeah.
she says still I rise, that is not the same thing as grand rising. Okay.
Okay.
No disrespect
Show. I am going for the Mavs as well. I think Kyrie's an amazing, just from a basketball standpoint, from one athlete to another. The way he makes space and creates plays and creates shot opportunities makes him awesome. And not to mention that man deserves it. That man fully deserves it. So I am cheering for the Mavs. I feel like this is great energy to welcome me to Dallas because I am on my way to the great state of Texas. I'm so excited. So we're gonna have to figure out what our season ticket situation is, Jake, because I plan to be in that arena.
Okay,
The price is going up.
Right.
Definitely.
But you know what? That speaks to also the organization. Like Mark Cuban is a progressive leader, and I think Kyrie is thriving in that organization. So is Luka. They clearly have a team dynamic that is where they actually care. And so big shouts out to the Mavs organization. Shout out to Dallas. I hope you guys are all staying dry in those storms. And I think it's been a great day. Thank you, ladies, for showing up again. And
Hey, real quick,
everybody else.
Elani, we're going to be in the Bay soon. So, Patty, we're coming to you. Tell us about the event that's coming up.
Well, the Wire organization put together another phenomenal event where Lady Jade hosted, and it looked fabulous. And I said, girls, bring that to Oakland because you're right. I mean, people are stressed in real estate right now. We need to bring the heat and have some fun. And I want you to know that if you're going to come and see me at the Spades table, bring your $20 bills because I'm not playing for fun. See you June 6th in Oakland. Bring your money.
Listen, no, it's been a thing. Me and Patty been on this. Like, we're both competitive as hell. So there's no room for anything but the competition here. Do y'all play spades?
I play, but I don't like playing with people like y'all. Y'all give me anxiety.
Too serious.
Okay, good. Yeah, don't play with me then.
I'm
So,
on
yeah.
my team. Yeah, I'm good. No, that's okay. Just cheer for us.
I'm not playing for fun.
Clearly.
I'm playing for bragging rights, period. So same time, same place next week. And if you guys would like to meet up with us in Oakland, the 4 of us will be together on June 6th in Oakland, California at On the House, a real estate industry game night. Go to my Instagram, link in bio. All the details are there. We will see you on That's What She Said, same time, same place next week. Thank you, ladies.
Bye, ladies. Love y'all. Thanks for watching.
Love y'all.
Love you.
Bye.